Okay. I'm trying to be as silly and as goofy as I can so that I can remove a lot of the stigma that comes around thinking about serious subjects. So, in psychology, psychology is a really, really cool subject because, well, first of all, it's something that we can always be interested in. I know a lot of people in my childhood background growing up who've gotten psychology degrees. So, this might be something that they can kind of relate to me with over time as I move forward and try to figure out what to do with my life. Um, but there's one psychologist from a long time ago named Carl Jung, and he wonders about the shadow self. And I don't even know how to understand it other than that to think about it in kind of like a primitive or kind of like a brand new idea that's for me. And then I usually go and study it and see what he used to think. And then I think about it, well, how does this work for us today? Like after he's died by a lot of years. And maybe because I'm thinking like trying to be pioneering in a new way that's kind of not really new, but kind of new. And so I'm trying to make it new. Maybe I'll be inspired with his soul or his spirit. An angel will come visit me and I'll have a new idea. Or you guys will give me a new idea. So anyway, um, what I understand about the shadow self is I think about, okay, the universe. So I think, okay, when do I see a shadow? I think, well, if I go outside and it's a sunny day, depending on what time it is, I can see my shadow. Sometimes it's smaller than me, sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's about my size, sometimes I can't find it at all, even if it is sunny. So then you think, oh, okay, now I want to figure out what that means. So I think, okay, I'm going to start a day where I can spend all day outside and I'm just going to keep looking for my shadow and I'm going to see what time it is. And then, so if I say, oh, I see my shadow, and maybe it's 8 o'clock in the morning, right? So I'm going out and I'm playing and I'm having snacks and I'm playing with friends. And then I realize, oh my gosh, it's 12 o'clock and I can't see my shadow. So then I'm going to write 12 o'clock, no shadow. And then I'm going to go play some more. And then maybe I'm going to think, oh, it's time to go home. I'm really tired. And then you go home and you find you take a nap. And then you wake up and it's 3 o'clock. And then you think, I'm going to go back outside. I don't know if my shadow's gone. You go outside and you find your shadow is actually pretty short. And then you think, oh well, 3 o'clock, shadow, very short. You're like, I didn't shrink. That's a good thing. And then you write it down. And then you find that, yeah, maybe I'm going to go to the mall. So then you ask your mom and she says, yeah, it's okay. So you take money, you go on the bus. You spend a lot of time at the mall. Maybe you meet some friends and then you realize, well, we're going to watch a movie. And then by the time you leave, you're like, oh, it's kind of dark. My shadow. You're like, oh, well. So then you end up going home and then you think about it and you're like, okay, well, what did I do today? Like, why would my shadow be scary? You're like, yeah, it doesn't make sense. I don't know. And then you go to sleep and you're like, ah, it doesn't matter. You kind of forget about it for a little bit. And then in a few days or maybe a few months, you have a dream. And in your dream, you see somebody behind you that looks like a shadow. And maybe you're doing something that you really like. Let's pretend you're baking a cake in your dream. And beside you is this shadow. And you're like, wow, I wonder what it's doing there. That's all you think about. And then you wake up. And then you can think, I wonder, is that like a spirit that's coming to tell me something? Because I asked a question. And you think, well, maybe. And then you pause and you think, okay, well, what happened in the olden days? And then you think, well, maybe they didn't know how to bake yet. And so they just ate fresh food. And you're like, yeah, that's true. I wonder what my shadow wants to tell me. So in this way, you think, oh, maybe I'm trying to understand something about my past that doesn't have to be scary. And maybe it's coming to tell me, we never used to do this and it's coming to learn. So imagine that. Like maybe this is a spirit that wants to come to life and it's learning. When I wake up, what's going to be new? So you can think, whoa, Gus, that's really cool. Gus, that's I was thinking about the movie of Cinderella and all the different mice that are trying to learn and help Cinderella. That's a really fun movie to watch anyway. So then you can think about that and think maybe that is what consciousness is because it's hard to say like how how does God save something in the world for us? Like maybe that's how. Like he'll just say, a spirit will come visit a spirit that's very friendly and it'll say, this is somebody that I hope I can find in the world that's going to be like really creative and wants to find new pioneering ideas and new inventions and then create with them. So maybe now this spirit is the one that died a long time ago and it's like, hey, you have part of the idea that I wanted to learn, which is to open up a bake shop and decorate and be really creative with like different kinds of sugar and icing and color. And then all of a sudden you go to school and then you find you have a teacher who traveled from a different country, maybe somewhere in the United States, and she's coming to teach in your school. And all of a sudden you're like, and then you almost don't know how to think about it, and you're just like, so then outside on the playground, she maybe ends up being one of the teachers that's supervising, and you go up and you say, "Hi, my name is Sam, and you know what I did over the summer?" And then you just tell her your story, and then she says, "Oh, that's cool. My aunt used to have a bake shop, and they used to love using icing to decorate with flowers." And already you have a really cool way of thinking about how inspiration works. So then you think, so I guess shadows don't always have to be scary. Like maybe I can think of like ideas that in the past may have been like, how do you use sugar to make something? Because we know that sugar can make you very sick if you eat too much of it. And maybe back then they didn't even have sugar. And maybe back then sugar was very, 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 very hard to find. And if you found it, people had to work a long time in the sun and in very hot weather to find it, to refine it, and to sell it. And it was just like, oh, maybe they didn't get paid a lot, and maybe they had people who were their boss who were very mean. So then you think maybe that shadow was afraid to wake up. But now it's so happy that it worked that hard, and now it's going to get rewarded, and it's going to find a great way to make money and to teach, and now it's creating really healthy knowledge that's going to be beneficial in the future. And then you think, oh, now I understand why God almost tells us be patient. Even though you have hard work, it's not lost. You're going to have it again in the future. And now you're going to have like an air conditioned home. You're going to be your own boss. You can bake your own goods, like your cake, your cookies, your cupcakes, like cake pops, which are like really cool ways of thinking. I'm just going to try something like really, really small if I can't have a lot of sugar. And now you're trying to understand, whoa, I do want to have like good ideas that I'm patient with. And if maybe I have to go through a hard time and they don't work yet, maybe I'll be patient, and maybe in a next life it'll come to life in a new way that's going to be a little bit more easy and going to be more fun, and it's going to be a great way to make money.